and it's morning again. It's already Thursday. I'm talking softly because it's still very early and I'm getting dressed. Anyway, yesterday the chain held up well as well. That's a weird sentence. Anyway, so I'm happy with it. Also, the cornering went really well. I actually got compliments on how I steer. And I finally realized that the reason I come out of corners less fast than a lot of other bikes is just because my bike isn't made to go very fast in first gear. So I always have to switch gears to actually go out of a corner fast. Which with hairpins, you're not going to do that for like 5 meters of speed, you know, that's just not a thing. So yeah, there's that. That's not a bad thing of the bike, by the way. It's just something that I had to realize because I was like, why can't I do that? Well, just because my bike is not made for that. It's not a skill thing. So that's nice to know. Anyway, I also decided to book a hotel from Sunday to from Sunday to Monday morning. Wait, I gotta stand up to get my leggings on. Anyway, because otherwise trip home is really, really long and I really just don't want to do that with a motorcycle chain that's already not completely good. Because I don't think, like, I didn't have any issues with it on the highway because there's traction all the time then. But I just don't want to risk it. So yeah, I decided to try for a hotel. Emailed them yesterday, but I wanted to turn the phone, not to drop it. Anyway, I emailed them yesterday, but well, I emailed them late in the evening and it's like 7 in the morning now, so I obviously didn't get a reply yet. But yeah, I tried for a hotel that I've already been to. That's about halfway between the hotel that's booked by Pavilion and halfway to home. Like between the other hotel and home, basically. So yeah, if they don't have space, I'll try a different hotel, but I'll just wait for their reply first. So yeah, let's get going again. I can really tell, and I hope you can too, that this is basically almost a week into this vacation. I'm just getting so much more comfortable with the mountains. That is really a thing. As someone who lives in a country with no mountains, there's really not much you can do here in the Netherlands where I live to actually get used to this kind of thing, because even if you take like a gazillion roundabouts to get used to the corners, you still don't have the angle of the mountains because it's all flat. So yeah, that's also why I really just prefer to take the bike to my destination so I can already have some training days before I'm actually there. But it just, it goes so smoothly today. The corners are so nice. Even corners downwards are fun. I'm really enjoying myself. I mean, really, I'm really enjoying myself every moment I'm on the motorcycle, but especially with these kind of roads, it's absolutely lovely. And I can just keep saying it. We got so freaking lucky with the weather. Like so freaking lucky. And of course, there's also some time for coffee. There's also a lot of places here to get coffee. There's a lot of restaurants, and yeah, well, admittedly, I'm a simple woman in the sense of when I see a cute animal, I gotta film it. So during our coffee stop, we also saw this random cow with a cowbell, and it was on its way to drink some water. So obviously, I spent some time filming it because it's a cute animal, and I want it on camera. Obviously. Anyway, back to the riding. We encountered some tunnels again. Yay! These keep being fun as well because it's not boring tunnels, it's literally caves that you can ride through. It's just so cool to me. Also, it's literally quite cool. They're very nice to cool down in because, well, it's July, it's hot. And on top of the mountains it's less hot, which is nice. But in the valleys it can get really freaking warm, and the tunnels are a pretty nice way to get some, cool down time in the heat without actually having to stop and seek shelter somewhere. It wasn't extremely hot this week, which we are very lucky with, but it was still quite warm, especially on the motorcycle gear and especially with the heat of the bike itself, because obviously the bikes are working quite hard with all the mountains. But yeah, it's just, it's so much fun to ride here. Every single day of riding here just feels like a treat. Seriously, so much fun. If you've never taken a motorcycle vacation and you're thinking of it, I definitely recommend just doing it. If you can ride a bike, obviously.
For those of you who have seen my Black Forest vlogs, no, I totally would not have been as brave if there would not have been another person with me, just as in the Black Forest with the weird abandoned houses I saw there. I probably would have stayed on the bike and filmed from the bike because I don't want to be grabbed by a ghost. I don't think the place was haunted. It was way too sunny to be haunted. Anyway, seriously though, what the heck was that freaking baby car chair doing there? Like, why? It was literally the only piece of trash there too. Like, how even? Anyway, let's just, yeah, enjoy the nice weather and the caves again. And, yeah, I don't know. I just love encountering weird stuff like that. And I just couldn't help myself. I had to go check it out. But yeah, anyway, back to riding instead of haunted house exploring.